President Donald Trump celebrated a U.S.-brokered peace agreement between Rwanda and the Democratic Republic of Congo at the Oval, touting the potential pause in a decades-long conflict as he sought to build his image as a global deal-maker. It was the latest in a flurry of global peacemaking efforts Trump has undertaken to mixed results, working phones and meeting personally with leaders to resolve a conflict. But will this newfound peace in Central Africa hold? Let's find out in our cover report this week.
The M23 rebel group's seizures of Goma and Bukavu, the largest cities in Eastern Democratic Republic of Congo, in January and February 2025 have marked a dramatic escalation in the region's long-running conflict. The fall of the strategic provincial capitals followed months of advances by the Tutsi-led rebels, whom Congo and the United Nations accuse of receiving support from neighboring Rwanda. Allegations Rwanda consistently denies. The crisis has displaced thousands, overwhelmed humanitarian resources, and sparked diplomatic tensions across Central Africa. The roots of this crisis trace back to the M23's resurgence in 2022, when the group renewed its insurgency in Congo's eastern provinces. Their steady territorial gains eventually led to the capture of key supply routes and strategic positions around Goma. Then, on June 27th, came this signing of a peace agreement in Washington to end fighting that has killed thousands, with the two countries pledging to pull back support for guerrillas. The agreement comes after the M23, an ethnic Tutsi rebel force linked to Rwanda, sprinted across the mineral-rich east of the DRC this year, seizing vast swathes of territory.
And a lot of war, right? A lot of fighting, a lot of death. It's displaced countless people and claimed the lives of thousands and thousands. But today, the violence and destruction comes to an end, and the entire region begins a new chapter of hope and opportunity, harmony, prosperity, and peace.
President Donald Trump made it clear that this is one of his key incentives for agreeing to support the peace process. But granting the United States unfettered access to the country's mineral wealth is unpopular with many in DRC, upset that the country's resources have failed to provide a better life for its citizens. As to the key questions of whether Rwandan forces will withdraw from eastern DRC, the US position is that once the Hutu-led FDLR, which Rwanda says is backed by DR Congo and aims to overthrow the Rwandan government, is dismantled, then Rwanda will also roll back on its defensive measure. This appears to be an oblique reference to the presence of Rwandan armed forces in Eastern Democratic Republic of Congo. If the US is able to convince the Rwandans to do this in earnest, it will be a big victory for Washington and Kinshasa. Rwanda has repeatedly denied its troops are on the ground in eastern DR Congo. Despite credible reports, they have actively supported groups like M23 in the region. Reuters reported that Congolese negotiators had dropped a demand that Rwandan troops immediately leave Eastern Democratic Republic of Congo. Rwanda had sent at least 7,000 soldiers over the border, according to analysts and diplomats, in support of the M23 rebels, who seized Eastern Congo's two largest cities and lucrative mining areas in a lightning advance early this year.
This agreement, signed by the foreign ministers of our two countries during a solemn ceremony presided over by U.S. Secretary of State Mr. Marco Rubio, builds on the achievements of United Nations Security Council Resolution 2773 and paves the way for a new era of stability, cooperation and prosperity for our nation, the Great Lakes region and the whole of Africa.
Residents of Goma had varied opinions after the landmark peace agreement that is meant to foster a permanent truce.
A sigh of relief for us, the inhabitants of Goma, the capital of North Kivu, where the M23 has set up its headquarters since the fall of the city. A few days ago, we heard that there might be disagreements between the two sides in Doha, and we who live here wondered, will we continue to suffer the ravages of war, the financial crisis, the economic crisis, and growing insecurity?
The Congolese government must remain vigilant, as the M23 has a habit of taking advantage of talks to occupy new territories. When a truce is announced, they advance. The government must adopt the same strategy.
Frustration was palpable as Congo prepared to mark its 65th year of independence from Belgium, with the country's eastern region still gripped by a conflict that heavily features foreign armies. The US-mediated deal aims to implement a 2024 agreement for Rwandan troop withdrawal from eastern Congo within 90 days and includes plans for regional economic integration. But for many in cities like Oicha that remain under government control, these diplomatic maneuvers feel far removed from reality. Africa Bureau, WION, World is One.